All right, everybody, welcome to Read the Line Celebrity Insider Show. Today we are joined by a PGA Tour winner. I can't wait to get to him, but we got to celebrate a little bit. Last weekend out there in Palos Verdes, we did hit Marina Alex at a 90 to 1 long shot winner. Huge payday. Excellent, excellent Sunday afternoon. The sweat worked out. We won. Can't thank everybody enough for read the line. Tell your friends, 90 to 1 winner. I mean, come on. $10 gets you 1,000. What's better than that? So, I'll tell you one thing that's better than that, and that's our celebrity insider this week, the 2001 Byron Nelson Classic winner. His name's Robert Damron. I knew him many years ago in my Orlando days down there at Isleworth. Welcome to Read the Line Celebrity Insider Show, Robert. How are you doing
I'm
today?
doing pretty good. Feeling sorry for you. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as celebrity pickers go, but I'm here to do the best I can. Although 90 to 1, you guys picked Marina Alex last week, really? That's
I picked Marina Alex last week.
wow.
Yep.
Well, don't expect anything that prophetic this week. That's pretty darn good.
Well, you know what? I didn't play on the PGA Tour, let alone did I win on the PGA Tour. And I know this week, so we'll go back to 2017, one of the 2 years that we played TPC Potomac at Avenel Farm. And that year in 17, it rated the hardest non-major golf course on the PGA Tour,
It
Robert.
is it
Imagine.
is a very hard course. So it used to be the old Kemper Open was on that golf course, and then and we had a couple other tournaments. Tigers tournament was on it for a year or two. I think Molinari won one year where it you kind of kicked him off as one of the best players in the world before he won the Open Championship. But it used to be a very kind of quirky golf course, one that a lot of players didn't really like, and seeing as how it's really built on the same essentially the same piece of property as Congressional, people were like, well, how can we have this unbelievably good golf course and this really quirky golf course essentially on the same piece of land? But the tour went in, they put a lot of money into it, they fixed it up, they redid it. It was quirky difficult before, now it's just difficult. Now it's just hard. A lot of the goofy holes have been tamed down. They did a great job changing the golf course, but again, it's still one of the hardest out there. I can see why it was one of the hardest non-majors.
Well, let me take you back to your playing days. You know you have a week that's very difficult coming up. Would you do anything different to prepare than you would on, say, a normal week or maybe it was going to be a total birdie fest?
Maybe the specifics of that course. What's important? Is it a short course? Am I going to need a lot of wedges? So I'm working on my wedge distances. Is it a very long course? So I'm going to work on my driver and see how that is. But typically, the courses and the tournaments came so fast and furious. I was playing a lot of them at the time. It was tough to kind of dial in one course or prepare the way you think like a Tiger Woods or a Jack Nicklaus prepared for each course. Well, they were playing 18, 20 tournaments a year. I was playing 30, so I didn't get quite the same amount of preparation. But sure, you do pay a little more attention to certain things on top of every week's a different grass on the greens, the green surfaces. The bunkers are a little different. So you always had to show up and give yourself that kind of get used to the speed of the greens, get used to the grain of the greens, get used to how deep and soft or firm the bunkers are. How deep is the rough? So you had to do that every week, regardless. So it was tough to really dial it in, but you did try to pay attention to things like that. Like, what does this course take to play well?
Well, I'm glad you brought up bunkers there, Robert, because like I started thinking about it and looking at this golf course, there's 52 greenside bunkers and a lot of them look really severe. And I've always wondered as a tour pro, would you throw a couple extra hours of practice in the bunker when you arrive at a place and you say, geez, look how severe the bunkers are here. So it sounds like you would.
Well, you might work on avoiding the bunkers if they're that severe. You've got each course has a place where to miss and where not to miss. Each green does. So, you probably not a couple hours. It's probably a bit much. Now you got to remember when you come to a PJ Tour event, the bunkers are going to be pristine, as good as they can make them, and the differences aren't like they used to be. In the '80s and even the '90s. It got better and better, and the bunkers, excuse me, got more uniform in really essentially. So it wasn't as bad like working out of the sand, but what you did have to do is, yeah, pay attention. And of course, even like this one, like you said, where the bunkers are deep and penal, how am I going to get around that? So you do have to strategize a little bit in that sense.
Well, it's definitely a strategy type golf course, and everyone's talking about the length of the rough, 3.5 inches. Looks like the weather is going to be a little wet and then cold into the weekend. So
Yeah.
you're going to have to be a good driver of the golf ball. So, let's start with the skill set needed to play well here this week at the Wells Fargo Championship. Who do you like as somebody who could drive the golf ball really well and then turn around and hit some pretty good mid irons?
Well, at a course like this, I want to look at the old history, but you kind of got to throw it out the window because it's been several years since a tournament's been back there. So I'd like to go back and say, oh, this person A, B, C played well here. Well, it's been too long back to really give them credit for that. They've probably forgotten the course, frankly. But it is DC. You said it's going to be cold, possibly rain, possibly. That happens a lot around that area. So I'm looking at really good drivers of the ball, people that can hit it long and straight, which frankly, let's be honest, it helps every course, but this course especially. So I think honestly, if I were going to pick, I've got a couple. I've got a darker horse and a favorite. I think my favorite would have to be McElroy. He loves that area. He won at Congressional. He won the U.S. Open by 8 shots. The greens, the grass and the greens are the same, so he obviously likes that. And he's hungry to win again. He did win in Vegas last fall, but it's been a little while, and he's trying to get his game back in shape. And a dark horse, but another good driver of the ball who's been playing kind of quietly good golf as of the last 2 or 3 months is Keegan Bradley. Keegan's always been one of the best drivers of the ball. So I haven't had the chance to look back on his history at this course. But again, looking at his skill set and the way he's kind of been trending over the last few months, I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
Man, I really like that Keegan pick. I mean, when you get up towards the
Hmm.
Northeast, he tends to pop a little bit. He
Yep.
won at Aronimink in the BMW a couple years ago. So I really like that Keegan pick. It's savvy. And of course, a lot of people may not know, but Congressional
Yeah.
is just blocks away from where they're playing this week. So it's almost like a home game for that big US Open victory that Rory had. There's no doubt about that. How do you feel about a guy? A lot of people are going to be talking about either Corey Connors. Let's start with him. What do you think about Corey's
Well,
chances?
Corey's coming off a little bit of a layoff, but he's been playing so good. Corey he's the modern day Joe Durant, the guy that you don't really realize is the best ball striker on tour, but statistically probably is the best ball striker on tour. He hits
Oh,
fairways
wow.
and greens like nobody's business. He had a hole in one at RBC Heritage, and it was his fourth hole in one in the last, I can't remember how much time, but no one's had more holes in one than him in the last like year, I think, or 2 years on tour, which shows how accurate he can be with his irons. So that is really really important. The putter is iffy, but it's been good. So the way he's been playing, I assume he's been working on this couple weeks off and not like sitting back counting his money, which is what I would be doing. But so I like a guy like Corey Connors just because a tough course. You said the rough's really deep. It's going to be wet, which makes deep rough even tougher. A guy that can hit fairways and then control the distance with his irons is going to be really good at this golf course.
All right, super driver of the golf ball, new name on the PGA Tour this year, Cam
Yeah,
Young. I know a lot of people they're going to be touting him this week. Do you think that's a favorable pick?
you'd have to look at odds, but I'm certainly not going to bet against Cam Young. Not the way he's been going. He's already got multiple top fives, challenged for a couple wins, and he almost won at Riviera, which was a completely different golf course than Harbour Town, and he had a chance to win at Harbour Town. So it's not like he's just strictly
Yep.
going to be doing well on Bomber's course because he is a bomber. But he's obviously wise beyond his years to be able to play at a course like that. Harbour Town, it was blowing so hard, and inside those trees and all the swirling winds get so tricky. So I think for the foreseeable future, I wouldn't bet against Cam Young anywhere right now the way he's been going. Yeah.
Sure. Well, he's starting the week at 40 to 1, which I
Yes.
think is pretty good for a guy that's been
You're
contending
right.
a lot, and it's a good fit too. All right, here's a guy that hasn't been on the radar at all. And then just this last weekend, he shoots 129 on the weekend. And I'm talking about Tony Finau. He seems to have his ball striking back in order. One last name here, Tony Finau. He's chalk at the top. Is that a guy that, where, because people say at this golf course that the putting isn't nearly as difficult. You look at a
Hmm.
guy like Kyle Stanley won there in 2017, and he's a
Yeah.
ball striker. He actually lost strokes gained putting and he won the event. So is it like could Tony be the guy
So
this
Tony, over
week?
the last how many years, 10 or 12, has been a perpetual top 10, top five machine. Didn't get the wins he should have, and finally he won in the playoffs last year, Northern Trust, and has had zero top tens on tour until yesterday. Since then, so that was really kind of strange. Now, does that mean Tony's done? No, of course not. He's going to be fine eventually. But then on the other hand, does that mean the 63 final round in Mexico is the end of his mini slump? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. He did miss, even though he won, or he only lost by one, he missed six putts on the first 2 days from 4 feet or less. And that's more
Yeah,
than just reading the greens and difficulty on the greens. I don't like these greens at this such and such a course. 4 feet and in, you should be able to read pretty much anywhere, and that got away from him. So I hate to say I would bet against Tony because he of course is going to come back eventually. But for my money, that 163 and the one solid weekend isn't enough to tell me that Tony's out of his slump and ready to win.
I mean, that's great insight. That's definitely spot on right there. And the last time we were there,
Yeah.
2018, Molinari wins. And of course, a couple weeks later, he goes on to win the Open Championship. But it seems like there's a little European contingent here this week. Maybe it's a golf course that he's told his buddies that like you should show up to. But we've got Terrell Hatton, we've got Sergio, we've got Paul Casey, we've got Matt Fitzpatrick back now. Do you think a European ball striker is well suited to the
Well,
Wells Fargo
Casey
Championship this
has
week?
been coming off injury. He withdrew the last couple tournaments he played in, but he's a great driver of the ball, a great ball
Yeah.
striker, so he would like it. Sergio drives it as well. He's been one of the top 5 or 10 drivers of the ball of the last 20 years. So for sure, he would like something like that. Hatton and Fitzpatrick, they're not as long as the other two guys. They're, Hatton especially a little more erratic. Hatton's more of a putting specialist. But so if we're talking European
Ooh.
contingent, I'm gonna go with the two ball strikers of the ones you mentioned, Casey, assuming he's healthy, and Sergio, and maybe lay off the other two just a little bit. Although it wouldn't shock me if they both played good there.
Well, you know what? It wouldn't shock me at all if any of these picks of yours worked out. You cover the PGA Tour week in and week out. You do
Thank
an
you.
awesome job, Robert Damron. I can't thank you enough for joining me today on Read the Line. Good luck to whatever
Thanks so
weekend
much. I
wagers
need
you
it.
make. All right, fair enough. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.